All right, hello, and welcome back to another Spinato Spin. Of course, this is where we get a little information here, trying to get you pumped up for your next outing, your next days in front of you. Who knows, maybe you got a big challenge. But you know what? I'm going to talk a little about something that's really near and dear to my heart, and I think a lot of people think about this a lot, but a lot of times they just don't get around to doing anything about it. I'm going to talk about self-improvement. You know, Tony Robbins, I'll use his word there, quoted it. He said, constant, never-ending improvement. Well, let's just talk about self-improvement. You know, it's such a selfless thing, though, self-improvement. Because you think about it, the whole concept is, I will get better for me, for you, and for all of us. Self-improvement. You know, four key areas of self-improvement are mental, physical, social, and spiritual. And if we really want to throw it in to make it into a nice circle, we'll call it emotional too. You know, you got to be strong in those areas, but you got to constantly want to improve in those areas. That's what self-improvement's all about. Now, when you think about self-improvement, you got to understand there's two commodities we got in all of our lives. No one can dispute this. We have two things that are really, really important in our lives. You know what they are? Time and knowledge. You can't get any more time, but you got to know how to use it, all right? And you got to understand the value of it. But knowledge, you can always add on to your knowledge. You can always improve on your knowledge. See, that's where the mental concept comes in. You know, we got a couple pictures up there. The first one is time. Of course, our most precious resource. You know, no one ever came back and said, you know, I just went out and bought a whole bunch of time. No one buys that. You can't buy it. The other thing is knowledge. See, what you know is so valuable that you have no idea what the potential of it is. But you got to constantly feed that. There's a lot of things going on in our lives day to day that we don't pay attention to. But think about this. If you got better in 10%, in just 10% of those four areas I just talked about, would your life change? Within a month. Let's say within a month, you got 10% better physically, mentally, socially, and spiritually, and emotionally. If you got better just by 10%, your life would change amazingly. You would be so much more of a more upbeat person, a more excited person, and that gives you an opportunity to hit your goals. But self-improvement in itself, as we look at the next picture, you know, you can't be doing anything other than improving yourself. Don't criticize other people. Don't waste your time. You know, there's an old saying, compete but don't compare. Compete against yourself. I just want to be better than I was the day before. Spend time figuring out a way to do that. Find out what you did the day before. You know, I read something the other day, made a tremendous amount of sense to me. You know, they say you got a to-do list. Well, how about an I did list? How about I did this today? Give yourself a pat on the back. Understand what you did and what you have for a baseline, how you can go forward. I come from a little bit of a sales background. Every day we had to make either more sales. Every month you had to make more sales, but sometimes you had to make more calls. And sometimes you had to get in front of a mirror and give yourself a pep talk like we're doing right now. Sometimes you just had to get better at just doing that. You know, some people have real simple ways of self-improvement. Some people, you know, I've heard Rudy say this, you know, we all know who Rudy is from Notre Dame and all that happy stuff. He said maybe your goal and maybe your way of improving yourself is combing your hair once a day. You know, some people don't do that. Or maybe shaving more often. Anything to make yourself more self-improved. We take a look at another one here. Yes, absolutely. Improvement begins with I. I will improve. You know, there's something to be said about positive affirmations. There's something to be said about things that get on in your mental dialogue and how you communicate with yourself on a daily basis. That is another way in which self-improvement can step up to you. One more. We're rolling right through here. Continuous improvement is better than delayed perfection. We thank Mark Twain for that. Little play on words, of course. But the bottom line is, I talked about this last week. I said, come up with a plan, but don't come up with a perfect plan. Make a decision. You got to have a decision that's good enough. Okay, decision's good enough. You feel a lot better. It's known scientifically that you feel better after you make a decision. Now, understand this. He's saying perfection is not something you want to hit in every area. He says do something. Go forward. Take your time that you spent today, cherish it, understand it, and vow to do better the next day. Another one. We're rolling with a few here. Become addicted to constant and never-ending self-improvement. Well, Anthony J. D'Angelo, that's a good one, but you kind of took it from Tony Robbins, so I'm going to take it from you. That's one thing I always said. If you hear something a few times and you repeat it a few times in front of a group of people, that's yours. Even if you don't hear it anymore after that, that's still yours. And I'll tell you what, Mr. J. D'Angelo there, bottom line is, constant and never-ending improvement is the way the Japanese put themselves in a situation. Tell you a quick story. There's Mr. Demings was an army officer way back in the day after the Japanese were trying to reconstruct their country, and they had a William Demings Award. And Mr. Demings wound up in a situation where he went over to Japan after it was all war-torn, and nothing worked. Everything was awful. And you know what he said? He said, this is going to take a long time to improve and get this country back on its feet, but I'll tell you what, if we get a little better every day, before we know it, we're back on our feet and things will start going forward. Well, the Japanese adopted that plan. And now the Japanese do that all the time for everything that they do. And over a period of time, we know what happened with the Japanese. They did pull themselves up, and they did move ahead, and they did way better than anyone ever thought they'd be able to do. And every year, they actually give an award out to the person that is the most prolific and the person that can do the most production in their country. It's called the J. Demings Award. And it started by an American. And now the Japanese do that every year. Constant and never-ending improvement. Let's go to the next one. Breaking old habits and forming new ones always takes time, but it's worth it. Well, I can wrap that up with a simple sentence. Do you believe, you can always ask yourself this, ask anyone this, do you believe that a temporary inconvenience is worth a permanent result? If you believe that, then you're willing to break some habits. See, it takes 21 days, folks, to break a habit. And same thing, it takes 21 days to develop a new one. What habits are you going to break? What habits can you break? What are you thinking about breaking? Get yourself into a course of action. I'll tell you what, you'll be improving yourself tremendously. Dump an old habit that's not good, not empowering you, not doing good things for you, and replace it with something that's good. Maybe you've been a little lax. Maybe you haven't been exercising enough. Maybe you haven't been running enough. You've been smoking too much. Drop the smoking, start running. Whatever it takes. Instead of, going for the dessert, go for some fruit. Do something like that, folks. Do anything you can to improve yourself. You'll appreciate it, and all the people around you will appreciate it also. The next one. Oh, yeah, success. Anyone that's ever looked at success and think about success, think that these guys just have it made. These women just have it made. They go right to the top. They're A to B, C, D, all the way up. That's not true, folks. It goes usually A, D, Q, R, S, and somehow they wind up at the top. They constantly just keep coming back. They say the definition of a winner is real simple. A winner is an individual that will stay excited until the job gets done. That's what a winner is, folks. That's what a person that really wants to improve and get to where they want to go. Success is not. This is one thing, too. I mean, we all understand this. Success is not an 8-lane highway perfectly paved. Success is a bumpy, untraveled, beat-up road that you barely can get your car across. That's what you got to expect with success. Success will take time, but if you constantly improve and get better every day, You'll be amazed at where you'll wind up. Got another one? Oh, yeah. Before you talk, listen. Before you react, think. Before you criticize, wait. And before you pray, forgive. And before you quit, try. Absolutely. You know, it's more of a situation where, you know, hold your horses type of thing. You know, make sure that you understand what God gave us. God gave us what? 2 ears, 2 eyes, and only 1 mouth. That means he wants us to listen more than we talk. You know, I'm sitting up here talking, I'm not listening at all, but believe me, I've listened to a lot of people. That's how I'm able to talk to you. You know, the bottom line is that's a big one. Always listen before you talk. Always on the, you know, there's one thing Stephen Covey said in his highly effective habits of 7 people. He basically said in Rule 5, he said, seek first to understand before you wish to be understood. That makes sense to me, and that's basically what that's pointing towards. And quitting. No one ever wins. Quitters never win and winners never quit. That's something you got to always remember. Losers lose and winners win. It's as simple as that. Just don't ever quit. Now, I had somebody who I was working with at one time, real tough guy. I think I mentioned this maybe last time, a week before. He said, let me ask you a question, John. Are you a man of your word? I said, yeah, sure. He sticks out his hand and he says to me, tell me one thing. Before you quit, you'll come talk to me. And he stuck his hand out and I shook it. I said, okay. And you know, I never forgot that. That was very, very important. And that is one big lesson in quitting that you can't overlook. Make your commitment to yourself. Show some important resolve inside yourself. Make that promise to yourself and keep going forward. One more here. We got another one? Yep. 42 practical ways to improve yourself. Of course. You can probably draw a list as long as your arm, as long as your leg, and as long as the day is long. All the ways you can improve yourself. I'm not saying you're in bad shape or anything. I'm just saying you can always get better. See, if you have that mindset and that understanding that you can always get better, there's a lot of things you can get better at. Is it going to be easy? No. But it will be one thing. It will be simple to understand. I believe inside of all of us there's greatness. But I also believe inside of all of us, we all know exactly what it is that we have to get better at to get the most out of our lives. The Spinato Spin can wrap it up on that note, and I do appreciate your time tonight.